Right then, lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy, and we are back again with episode number 3 of the Arsenal Transfer Podcast. This time, I'm joined with a very, very, very special one. Once again, Glenn from Everything Arsenal, Glenn Kitely from Everything Arsenal. And we're going to be diving into much of your transfer speculation, especially around Arsenal. Dusan Vlahovic, the man leading the news around Arsenal, potentially Arsenal agreeing to pay close to £75 million, close to £75 million for Dusan Vlahovic. That is really a lot of money, and we're going to be sharing our thoughts. We're going to be sharing our thoughts on that, what we think about Dusan Vlahovic, the need for a new striker, Edin Ketia going to Gladbach, Lacazette to Barcelona, probably in January. Now that they have a new manager, they could use probably a set of new players and more and more and more. Do us a favor, smash a like on the video. Make sure you do subscribe and let us know what you think about all the stories that we are going to be discussing. But before I do that, Glenn, welcome back to the channel, bro.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a good time to talk about Arsenal. It's a good time to talk about Arsenal. We are really enjoying ourselves. Other teams are in problems, but for us, things are looking good. Let's hope the transfer window is about to open, maybe like 1 month away. So let's hope they can excite us one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're an Arsenal fan out there, one of the things you want to see is how we perform in the January transfer window. I've done a video, actually a full live stream on Josh Kroenke's interview with Sky, and basically he's promising heaven and earth. He's promising us on the next steps. He's promising on how Arsenal are going to change their strategy and probably adding a couple of young talented players, of course with quality. So probably all the rumors that we are seeing at the moment are based on the fact that maybe Arsenal are changing strategy. But I'm going to start from there, Glenn. £75 million. Dusan Vlahovic is a player in the Serie A. We've tried to track down some Serie A players over the years. Joaquin Correa, one of them. Lautaro Martinez, another. And now we are linked with Andrea Bellotti. And now we are linked with, of course, last summer we were linked with Manuel Locatelli. And now we are actually linked with another young striker, 21 years of age, Serbian striker. That is very, very expensive, and his contract runs down in the summer. Do we need a striker? Do we need an emergency signing of a striker in the summer, in January?
So last season, I did not think so. Last season, I thought Lacazette and Aubameyang can still do the job for one more season. And also Martinelli, who's going to be on the bench as a backup. Also, he didn't have European football, so he didn't need that much of that many strikers like a Chelsea would need, or those kind of teams. But in January, 100%. Few reasons. One is because Aubameyang is going to the African Cup. How far will Gabon reach? I'm not sure. Maybe they're not the favorites to win the competition, but I'd fancy them to at least get out of the group and then maybe go to the quarterfinal or last 16, depending on how it is. You would expect that to happen. But apart from that, I mean, they've not been scoring goals. I know that. They've not been scoring goals. They've had a lot of criticism since last season, Lacazette and Aubameyang, which I kind of agree with. I don't think they're useless strikers. I still do not think they're useless strikers. But to compete in the top 4, top 6, you need a striker who scores goals. Vardy at Leicester, I think like 5 seasons in a row, 20-plus goals. Kane at Tottenham, 25 goals, 27 goals every single season. Poor season so far this season, but you'd expect him to get goals. A team like Liverpool, they don't actually have a striker, but Salah and Mane do the job. Chelsea as well, you'd expect Lukaku to do the same this season. Ronaldo for United, the same. Aubameyang, you'd expect him to do that, but his goals have dried up. And now, since he's missed 2 penalties in a row, it actually can damage your confidence. Will he step up for the next penalty, for example? Will he be trying things? Or will he be have the confidence from last season as well? The same confidence he had from last season? Probably will fall short again for like 20 goals. I don't think he'll get 20 goals anymore. So we need a striker who can get that. And Vlahovic got 21 goals in 37 games last season. For a 21-year-old, that is very, very interesting. And also the direction we are heading. Yesterday against Watford, that was the youngest team against the oldest team in the Premier League. That was also the youngest manager against the oldest manager.
Manager in the league, yeah, definitely.
So you can see the direction we are going. Smith Rowe, Saka, this kind of players, Odegaard, all of them are very, very young. Ben White, Gabriel. It's hard to even know Gabriel is young. Very, very young, all of these goalkeepers. Ramsdale looks like he's 12 years old. If you look at his face, he looks like he's 12 years old. So I see the direction we are going. Aubameyang and Lacazette, how many more years do they have to play? Maybe 3 at most. So definitely we need a striker next time. Next year we need a striker. January, definitely, especially if we're going to be in the Carabao Cup, for example, let's say the semi-final or something. By then, Martinelli is not at just cup of tea. Lacazette will be leaving at the end of the season. So I do prefer getting someone in January to integrate him into the team. February, March, April, May, June, July, for August, just like we did with Odegaard. Odegaard, by the time he was coming back, he had already been with the team for 5-6 months. So January is important. We need to get someone in January.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you think about strikers around Europe, young strikers around Europe, we'll try to dive into the debate of whether Vlahovic is the right man, and which other players we could go for. But if you look at the strikers around Europe at the moment, Vlahovic is really, really one of those exciting young talents to watch. 10 goals already this season, 12 appearances for Fiorentina. Last season, like you said, he did well, scoring around 21 goals again in 37 appearances. He's nailing it, and he's really one of those strikers that I just love the way he acts, especially when he doesn't have the ball. The runs, the ability to integrate with the team, the ability to play together with the team. He's not that kind of lone striker like Christian Benteke. No respect to Benteke, by the way, but. My question to you then, Glenn, is if we go for a striker in January, do you let Alexander Lacazette go? Because a couple of clubs are interested, and in the summer we are losing him on a free. Actually, the same thing as Fiorentina, and that's why they might consider selling him. So do you let Lacazette go in January, probably to Barca? I've had Barca interested, Atletico Madrid are interested, Juve could be interested, but of course, Juve cannot sign a player in January if they can take him on a free. So I think Juve are out of the picture for January. So would you then let Lacazette leave?
In January, first of all, until they sign that striker, that's when I let the player we have go. But in January, I wouldn't in January. I still feel we can use him between January and the end of the season, especially because Aubameyang will be off. I think we'll definitely need to use his experience in the team. He's our second captain. So after Aubameyang goes, he's going to be the one who's going to captain Arsenal in January. So I think until the end of the season, I'd be happy to let him go on a free seriously at the end of the season. But as of now, I wouldn't let him go right now. I still feel Carabao Cup is still there, FA Cup is still there. At that time, especially if we go through this November and December with a very, very good run, maybe lose 1 or 2 games only out of the 10 games, I'd keep him. I'd definitely keep him to help us through that period. We have the potential of winning a trophy this season and finishing in the top 6. And I think if we don't have Aubameyang and Lacazette, both of them in the team, I think it will be hard, especially with Partey going as well and all those players. So I'd keep him for January until the end of the season.
Yeah, and I also think the fact that if he stays, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, in the summer, we could maybe convince him for 1 year or another 2 years, because I think he really fits. He's found where he plays as a number 10. Probably is going to struggle to kick Odegaard permanently out of that position, which I think Mikel Arteta really doesn't want. So he would be happy to let him go, so that he can actually bring about that kind of calmness in the squad and in the dressing room. But Lacazette, how impressed are you ever since he's come into the squad this season? And do you think he deserves a new contract? Like rumors are that Arsenal are planning, actually think of giving him a new contract, although the player doesn't actually want to stay.
The thing with Lacazette, I think if they give him a contract, I don't think he'll be playing for us as a striker anymore. I think he's getting to that age where we'll need to use him as a number 10. The way he's been playing most of the season. So if he gets a new contract, I don't think he will be our striker. I don't think he's going to be as lethal as he was back in 2015, 2017. I don't think he has the pace to get in behind this kind of defenders like Van Dijk and those kind of other defenders. Heading ability, not so much again. So to play him depend on him as your number 9, I think it would be hard. So if you give him a contract, I do expect him to play for us as a midfielder, basically, just like Wayne Rooney did before he was retiring. He moved from a striker to a midfielder. I think there's someone else who also did that, moving from a striker to a midfielder just because you don't have the pace. Even Ryan Giggs, he moved from the left wing to central midfield at the end of his career. So I can see Lacazette doing the same thing. Keeping him, it's going to be so hard. I would really want to know which kind of contract we're giving him. I really want to know which kind of contract we're giving him. If it's 1 year, I'd be fine with that. But it's 2 years, 3 years, I'm not sure. What was the other question?
Yeah, the other question was if you keep him, actually you've answered it. If you keep him, then for how long would you actually keep him? Yeah, but then then back to the Dusan Vlahovic debate. 75 million. Look, there's a lot of competition. His contract runs down in the summer, and we know that. There's a lot of competition at the moment, so probably there is no we wouldn't have to debate on the money. But 75 million pounds in January, do we have that? Do you think Arsenal do have that budget, or it is a signing you make in January, an agreement you make in January, and probably you use the summer funds to bring the player in in the summer?
First of all, 75 million. Can you go through the strengths? 75 million. Before that, how many strikers have ever bought for more than 50 million? Only 2. Aubameyang around was it 60 in it was in a January transfer, and for Lacazette it was 50 million at the end of one season. I think it was 2017. So usually you don't splash that much money. The only players I can remember in January, maybe, who was it? Was it Arshavin? I think we signed Arshavin in January.
Arshavin, Aubameyang. I think those are the only 2.
Yeah, it's not very many players usually sign in January, especially not for 75 million. Again, that brings me to another question again. Do we need to splash 75 million on a striker, or do we need to splash 75 million on a midfielder? For me, I still feel like we still need to sort out that midfield for 75 million. Yes, right now we can't get any cheaper strikers for 20 million or 50 million. It would be very, very hard for you. So 75 million, when I saw he's a bit weak in terms of holding on to the ball. Holding play is a bit weak. Vlahovic is good from through balls. You might know his strengths and weaknesses better than me, but I did hear that in terms of holding on to the ball, he's not that great. So splashing 75 million, I basically need you to have 8 out of 10 for what you're looking for, not 6 or 5. So I still need to see more of him. He's very, very young, 21 years of age. The good thing with a player like that is if it goes wrong, you still have time to sell him because he's very young. But 75 million, you hope that it doesn't go wrong. You really have to be 100% sure about him, because the last player we signed for that kind of money, it hasn't worked out. It hasn't worked out.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, for me, again, my other problem is that his contract is running down. It would be very good business if Arsenal go for a striker. Actually, if we get a striker and a midfielder in January, that will be excellent business. But my concern and my point of concern is, I think it would be a little bit like we are cheated if we get a player whose contract is running down in the summer. What would you do? Would you because at the moment I know Fiorentina are really desperate. That's the word. Yeah. They're really desperate. So if you approach them and you told them we're giving you 45 million quid and leaving the player with you till the summer, I think they could accept that, such a deal. Would you would you have the deal at least structured in that way to save some money, and also not to to overpay for a player whose contract runs down in 6 months?
Yeah, I'd be happy with such a deal. Let him have. The thing is, if he joins Arsenal right now, he's straight into the starting lineup anyway.
Yeah.
So we usually say that about players. We are not sure if they're going to start or not. But I'd be happy to see more of him in February, March, April, May. But if you're going to sign a player, I think you just sign him immediately. I know we'd be happy with such a deal, but if you're signing a player, we need all those players right now, not at the end of the season, because this is when we are trying to get back to European competition. This is when we'll be hoping to win a trophy. Yes, next season we still have some time for next season as well, but we do need players in January. I don't think we have time to wait for another 6 months, unless it was a young player who needs some experience. If we were signing, for example, Balogun from, let's say, a Chelsea or something, I'd be happy to send him back there. Let's see how he does until the end of the season. But I do understand the terms of structure and all that, but we do need our players right now. We definitely do need our players right now.
Yeah, of course. So, guys, if you're watching there, make sure you smash a like on the video. The idea, or the whole idea around this topic, is that Gianluca Di Marzio, one of those best journalists in Italian football, has come out and said that Arsenal did reach an initial agreement, one, to pay the 75 million pounds wanted by Fiorentina in Dusan Vlahovic. However, we still have to convince the player to join us. And he also said that Fiorentina did agree to sell the player to Arsenal if Arsenal can convince the player, right? So, Glenn, if you're Fiorentina, do you let Vlahovic do you let go of Vlahovic in January? Because I still feel like it's a hard call for them to make. It's a very, very hard call for them to make.
I don't know their situation in Syria. I'm not 100% sure about them. I've been following the other 5-6 teams, not Fiorentina that much. But if you're in that position, if the money can come in January, why not? But I would really doubt they would sell him, especially if they're trying to fight for Europa League football. Let me just check which position they are. They are 7th right now on 18 points. 1 point behind Europa League football, so they're doing well. They've won 6 games, they've lost 6, so they're still in the battle for top 6 positions. It would be hard for them to sell him right there. If I was the manager there or the owner, I wouldn't sell him in January. And to go back to your point about sending him back to Fiorentina for 5 months, you remember the last time we did that? What happened? Saliba. We bought Saliba and sent him back.
Yeah, definitely.
He's been sent back now 5 times. It's now 2 years since he was sent back. So we might send him back and never see him again.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, yeah, and of course we would need the services. We would need the services in January when Aubameyang is off. By the way, just a simple question: would you give Aubameyang another year at the end of his contract?
Oh, added to another, his contract is expiring next year?
Yeah.
No, I think this season and next one would be enough. I think next one, that would take him to like 34 something, 35 years of age. I think that would be enough. Take whatever you can need. We are hoping, obviously, in the next 2 years, we've sorted out our striking issues. So, yeah, I'll give him this season and next season. I wouldn't add any other years at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, that is it about Dusan Vlahovic. I'll be doing a couple of videos about Dusan Vlahovic and what he can offer, probably why we need him. We've spoken about the need in January for a striker, and still talking about strikers in January. Borussia Mönchengladbach would love to take Edin Nketiah. What is your take on Nketiah? I've already said that Nketiah is one player that I don't see as a top team player. I've already said that. And I've never looked at him as a top team player right about until now. But what is your take on that? You think Nketiah should leave? Gladbach want him. We want Zakaria from Gladbach. Do you think maybe a swap deal could work out?
I mean, I'm still surprised he's still here. In fact, someone asked me 1 hour ago. My grandmother asked me 1 hour ago, why is Edin Nketiah still at Arsenal? She's also still wondering why Edin Nketiah is still at Arsenal. I do not know why Edin Nketiah is still at Arsenal. I saw him on the bench yesterday. That was the first time he was on the bench for very many years. I know he's 22 years of age, but can I really see him improving past that? I don't think so, man. I always say, Edin Nketiah came to Arsenal 2015. That was like 4 or 5 years ahead of Saka and Smith Rowe. Saka and Smith Rowe have played for Arsenal for 1.5 years, 2 years. And by how much have they overtaken Nketiah? By so much, so much ahead of them. I always include Niles on that Nketiah list as well, because I feel like Saka Smith Rowe overtook them. Again, I always ask people, if you sit down with you right now, if you sit down even with Cossy right now and you start talking about the 5 moments you remember from Saka, I'm probably sure Cossy can name for me 5 moments he remembers from Saka. You know, this day he took a corner, this goal he scored against this team, this cross he made, this goal he scored against Wolves. If I ask you about Smith Rowe, he can tell me, wow, I remember his debut against Chelsea. I remember this goal he scored away at Chelsea. I remember this and that. five, even three, maybe four about Niles Buchanan, FA Cup semi-final, FA Cup final. If I ask you to name for me 5 moments to remember from Eddie Nketiah, you will be struggling. You can't mention for me 5 good moments to remember from Eddie Nketiah. Be like, wow, this day really helped us. This day I'll never forget. Eddie Nketiah did this. Why? Because he's never really impressed anyone. And if you ask 10 Arsenal fans, would you keep him or not? 1 out of the 10 would tell you to keep him. So he went out on loan to Leeds. He was sent back to Arsenal. Didn't really impress that much.
I've never seen him as a player that has really impressed. Look, I've seen people on Twitter say he's never disappointed. Look at that goal he scored in the midweek. I don't know. I don't know if it's not lucky that goal doesn't go in. Honestly, let's be honest. If it's not lucky, that goal doesn't go in, right? But a striker is a striker and a goal is a goal. But look, for me, Eddie needs to find a place to play football. Leverkusen wanted him. I thought, he could have gone there. Leverkusen, I dissent him. Last summer, I think it was it Brighton and Crystal Palace that needed him. Brighton played very, very good football. They would actually give him good service, right? If they can use Danny Welbeck, I still feel like they could have taken Eddie Nketiah and he would have probably done well there. West Ham wanted him last January. Again, transfer blocked. Crystal Palace before signing Odson Edward, they wanted Eddie Nketiah. There was another opportunity to play in the top flight. I feel like he's just not taking these opportunities, and in the end, you'll find him playing for signing for a Watford or a Cardiff or a club in the Championship. I don't see him as Arsenal material. I don't see him as Premier League material. I don't see Eddie Nketiah as that kind of player that is going to blossom. But talking about Gladbach, Zakaria, another player that has been linked with Arsenal. Obviously, we have the Thomas Partey concerns about injuries. Those ones have not gone away until recently. He's now injured with a groin. Mikel said it's a muscle injury. So, would you do Zakaria? Because the good thing with Zakaria, if he comes in, you could play him with Thomas Partey if both of them are fit, and he can actually play with Granit Xhaka if Partey is away, especially in January. And I think we need a central midfielder. How would you rate Zakaria?
He plays with Xhaka at Switzerland as well, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Zakaria, we definitely do need a midfielder, as we've been talking about. We definitely need a new Switzerland midfielder. We already have one that doesn't impress us. He's also very young. Again, goes according to what you're trying to do. I think he's 23 or 24, something like that. Again, a very young midfielder. And if we can get a player who can play alongside Thomas Partey or play by himself, do you think he can play by himself in that role?
Yeah, look, I think he's a very, very good CDM. I've always rated Albert Lokonga, but another player that is so good as CDM is Zakaria. You could play him in a 4-1-4-1. Just by himself, in that role, and he's gonna do it.
If we get a player like that, also it allows us to improve our bench. Basically, you can have someone like Alakonga coming from the bench instead of El Neni. I did hear you talking about El Neni. El Neni is a good guy, but for how much longer will he help us in terms of quality? If let's say Arsenal qualify for the Champions League, do you really want El Neni to play for you in the Champions League? I don't think so. So there has to come a time where you say goodbye to these players. If we take a look at Arsenal, we've had so many of these players for so many years. I'm pretty sure if you take a look at let's say Chelsea or City, how many of their players who are there right now are there in 2015? Not many. But for Arsenal, we still have so many players who are there back then, even Kolasinac as well.
I'm actually very, very surprised that El Neni is still around Arsenal. You remember, I might not remember the exact year we signed him, but I still remember that he scored a crack against Barcelona when he had just joined Arsenal. And that was in the Champions League. And how many years have we spent out of the Champions League? And how many years are those? There's so many.
He scored a good goal against Barcelona. Company was like, I was like, this was the answer. He wasn't. In that midfield position, you need like 10 to 12 qualities. You need to be very confident in terms of calling for the ball. You need to be very quick in thinking, because if you're playing against the likes of Conte, the ball will go within 5 seconds. If you watched Man City against United the other day, United couldn't keep the ball for more than 2 seconds because the De Bruyne and Rodri are onto it immediately. You need to know how to pass the ball. You need to know how to tackle. Your positioning has to be very good, because if you go forward and you leave space in the middle, you're done. Because the moment a team like Man City plays against you and you have a lot of space in midfield, you're going to be in trouble. You need to be very disciplined. There's so many qualities you need. Elneny does have a few. He could be disciplined. He can just sit there. He won't push forward and anything like that. But when he gets the ball, what are you going to? Is he going to do what you need to do, like pass forward, or is he going to pass back to Gabriel? There's a lot of qualities you need. So Elneny coming in for the last 5 minutes, that is fine. Coming for the last 5 minutes to just call the game out, could just see the game off. But with Partey out and then someone like Lokonga gets injured, you need to play Elneny from the start. And like in this December, we have like 10 fixtures, as we talked about yesterday, and you need all these players to be playing. You need all of them to be playing, because you can't play Partey in every single game or Jacques in every single game. You need everyone at the top of their game. So Elneny again is not, I don't think is good enough anymore. So that's why you need people like Zakaria to also improve our bench. If you have Lokonga and Niles on the bench and Partey and Zakaria starting, all of a sudden you have a good bench.
Yeah, I mean, have you thought about it when Partey leaves and Elneny? Because Momo also leaves, by the way. People don't. I mean, because he's not been playing regularly. People don't notice that he's also leaving for January. He is leaving for January. And are you optimistic we are getting in a central midfielder or a midfielder? Are you quite optimistic? Because that leaves us with Niles, Xhaka, who is injured, and then and Abasab Lokonga. Do you think probably this time we will act in the right way?
Oh, they have to. They have to. I mean, I don't think there's a choice. I think basically they're now forced. All those players leaving. Jacques is not. We don't even know when Jacques is going to be back, and even if he's back, January is a very crucial period, especially if we beat Sunderland in the Carabao Cup. I'm telling you, we'll be in the semi-final of a cup. FA Cup, we all loved the FA Cup last season. We went out in the first round. We don't want to do that again. We want to have a good run in the FA Cup. Let's say, again, if we pass through December and November with only, let's say, 1 defeat or 2 defeats, that means you're in the top 4, top 5 in January, February. You have to like work on it, because you'd expect United to add a couple of players. Newcastle will be there signing players. Chelsea will be there adding a couple of players. So you need to add players in January, because most of our players are leaving, and our fixture list in January is horrible. We have City, we have Tottenham, I think Chelsea, right before Valentine's Day or something. We have so many of these tough games like in January, February. So we need all these players. We need all these players. Any players you can get, at least 2 players. So I think they're forced to basically sign a player in January.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless Ben White can be used as a midfielder, which I don't think so, because he can, but I don't want to break that back four.
Yeah, to break the back for you, you need the consistency, and Josh Kroenke has been talking about consistency. So look, there are a couple of options that have been named in bridging that gap that will be left by Momo and Thomas Partey, and like we said, Dennis Zakaria, good player. His contract is actually running down in the summer. So would you do a loan deal, probably sign him in the summer, or would you just sign him up?
A loan deal in January?
I
mean, that will be good enough. A loan deal for Zakaria in January, I'd take that. As long as it's not like there's these loans where you have to pay like 5 million for the loan. I don't want that. If it's like just a loan until the end of the season, I'd be happy to do that. As long as I get someone in. Usually I'm not a fan of loan deals, because loan deals have never really worked for Arsenal. Karlstrom, Benayoun, and there's one I forgot.
No, that was one of the. I don't know how we negotiated that. Came Karlstrom. I don't know how we negotiated one, but that one there was dreadful.
I'm never a fan of loan deals, but if you can help us for 5 months when our players are not there, players we expect him to come back soon, that's fine. I'd take him on a loan deal. Also, I think a loan deal can actually help you in terms of looking at the player as they fit in the team, so that you avoid mistakes. Sabayas did do well in his first season, at the end of his first season. Luckily, we didn't sign him, because we brought him back for the second season and it did not work out at all. So I'd be happy with the loan for Zakaria.
But definitely, I don't think Gladbach. I think that I mean, unlike Fiorentina, Gladbach could actually be glad, however much they called Gladbach, they would be glad to lose him on a free, because they've even last summer a couple of clubs wanted him, but they tried to keep him. They tried to convince him to sign a new long-term contract. He refused. Until now, the future hangs in balance. He's still, and their problem, or to their disadvantage or their advantage, he's playing for them, is that he's doing well at the moment. So he's attracting a lot of attention with his contract situation. So I doubt they give us the player in January on a loan deal. It's out of the picture. It's one of their key players, one of the key starters. So if they slapped some £35 million price tag on him on January, would you do him, or would you rather go for someone, probably an Oxlade-Chamberlain, and then sort out that position in the summer?
Chamberlain, no, thank you. Chamberlain, no, thank you. 35 million for Zakaria, I would do it. Right now, we are living, we've always talked about this. We are living in a changed football world. If you don't pay the money, you're going to be in trouble. So if a chance like that comes by, that 5 million, you're going to buy the player. And also these things are done in installments these days. So if it's like a Ramsdale where you pay 20 million and then the 15 million slowly, that is fine. I don't think you can afford to wait until the end of the season. In January, you need at least 2 players. If you wait until the end of the season, things could go wrong between January and May, and then you finish 9th, and then you don't win a trophy, then you have to start all over again for a full year again. And then when players go to the World Cup in December again, you see the same thing. When the players come back, this one is injured. Can we wait until the end of the season to sign another player? I don't think so. So 35 million for him in January, I'd be happy to do that. Another young player. We signed Tomiyasu for almost 20. We signed Gabriel for like 24, and all of them have worked out. So Ramsdale for almost 30, it has worked out. So if they're very sure on him, the thing is right now, the last 1 year, I've actually kind of trusted Arteta in transfers in Edu, because they've signed 6-7 good players. I'd add Martinelli to that list for Edu. They've signed some decent players. We still don't understand the Cedric transfer and those kind of transfers, but the players they've signed this time around, they seem to be good. So if they've actually looked at them and they're actually sure about them, that is great. I can see someone saying Karlstrom won us the FA Cup. No, it didn't. He scored a penalty, but Fabianski and Ramsey won us the FA Cup, not Karlstrom.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, okay, so the point with Dennis Zakaria is a player wants to leave a club, but the club doesn't want to part ways. And that could be very, very difficult transfer to do in January, obviously, Glenn, because you don't have the time. You only have less than 30 days to do those deals. And then you have a lot of games from December, then throughout January. You have a lot of games around there. So it could be difficult. And Arsenal trying to look elsewhere. Let's start off with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, because we already touched on him. Look, the Ox is one of the players that have been linked with Arsenal come this January transfer window. It's funny, I'm going to say, probably. It's absolutely funny that we thought about the Ox, but and I'm gonna say I did love Harry Simio's tweet about Oxlade. He said, if you want to solve an injury problem, why then do you think about an injury-prone player in the Ox? I don't know if he's still fit, but I've seen him for 2 games after Keita got injured for Liverpool. He looked decent, but when he came on against Brighton, he made a very, very fantastic assist. I didn't know he could be a very good central midfielder. I was used to him playing on the wings, during his Arsenal times, and I just found out that he could be a very, very good central midfielder. Look, the Ox, a loan deal, and probably purchase him for 22 million in the summer. Would you do that one? Would you be a little bit nostalgic? Look, I can't be nostalgic because I've not seen him so many times play through the midfield at Arsenal. I'm used to him as a winger, but there's some good moments. I still remember there was a 1-1 draw we made against Manchester United. Olivier Giroud scoring the equalizer in the 90th minute. We were absolutely outplayed in that game. He came on, very, very beautiful cross, and a very beautiful header. Of course, Giroud with the headers, he's your man. Look, there were a couple of other good moments with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. But would you take him? Probably. Oh, of course, I cannot ask you. Do you take him because you've already refused? But do you think it's one that makes sense? Does it make any sense for you?
That header was at Old Trafford. I remember that day very, very well. 1-1 against United.
Yeah.
Chamberlain cross to Giroud, far post header. Chamberlain, man, no. So many reasons I can tell you no. Yes, he can actually play as a central midfielder. One of his best games at Arsenal was against Southampton. He was playing as a central midfielder. I still remember it. I think we won 3-1 or 3-2. Emirates, we beat Southampton 2013 or 2014 there somewhere. He was very good, but he was very good, not now. Another game I do remember was I think he played for us as in part of the back five when we beat Chelsea in the FA Cup final, Wenger's last FA Cup, where Sanchez and Ramsey scored. Chamberlain's, Chamberlain's played as a right wing back, and I think was it Gibbs or someone plays as a left wing back. They were okay, but now I don't think so. Injury prone, and you cannot say Chamberlain is young anymore. He's turning 29, so the injuries are too much. Chamberlain has been injured. He's been at Liverpool for like 4 years, and he's been injured for like 3 of them. Maybe there could be some positives. He's been playing under Klopp. Maybe he's gathered the winning mentality and stuff like that. He's been around players who are leaders, players like Henderson, Milner, Van Dijk. That could help. Maybe he's been around and he can actually help Arsenal players in that. But also the way he left Arsenal, man. This guy. We played against Liverpool on the 31st of August.
Yeah.
And on the 1st of September, he was joining Liverpool.
He was
How does that even happen? How can you play for us and you're joining that team that is playing against us tomorrow? I do not understand. And I do understand when they say they wanted to go and win trophies. Yes, he's won them. He's won the Premier League, Champions League, although he didn't do anything to win for them those trophies. He did win them still. I'm not a fan of bringing any of those players who were there back in the tough era. Those days we used to have it very, very tough. Those last years for Wenger, all those players we had those days, even these players we had during Emery days, I just want to forget about all of them. Let's start the new era. These players, the Chamberlains, the Mustafis, all of them, they were used to us getting smashed 8-2. Chamberlain played in that 8-2 game against Man United. He played in that 6-0 against Chelsea. I think Gibbs got sent off instead of him. All those memories, I do not want all those memories at Arsenal.
Yeah, so absolutely.
I think I can get a better midfielder than him.
Actually, if you think about it, if anyone actually gave it a real thought, you might just question Arsenal's direction if they brought in a player like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. If you claim that you want to focus on the future, if you claim that you want to build something new, something that has continuity, and of course all the blah blah PR that they are spreading at the moment, if they decide to bring back Oxlade, it would be it would be even worse if they brought him in, plays 4 games and he gets injured. So for me, the injury prone record, if he was like Ramsey, because ever since Ramsey got injured, that last injury, he's always been out of the sick bay. He's actually played his football. I mean, that kind of mediocre Romdoita, but he's always played his football. Maybe I could use a Ramsey, but with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I also feel it's a little bit too nostalgic for anyone who wants to bring him back. But again, talking about players that do want to come back or players that we want to bring back is Dani Ceballos. Again, have you seen those? Have you seen the links?
Dani Ceballos.
Yeah, definitely.
Dani Ceballos has been injured for like 3 months as well. He's not played any football. Dani Ceballos, no man, absolutely not. Ceballos is another. Go ahead.
He's so lucky to be a part of that Madrid sick bay even, because I don't know how he stayed at Madrid. I don't know how. I think those guys don't cancel contracts. They don't. Maybe it should be. No, anyway.
Dani Ceballos got a silly red card in the most important game in Arsenal's history in the last 10 years against Villarreal. That's the game he decided to make a mistake and get a red card. He made 2 mistakes against Benfica, another important game in our season. He made 2 mistakes, almost got us eliminated early on in the Europa League campaign. Listen, I'll never forget Ceballos was one of the reasons we won the FA Cup the first season. But the second season, I don't think so. We've moved from that. We've moved on from that. We are now heading into a different direction. We now have young players, a bit of a mixture with old players. We are looking for quick players, strong players. Mentality of the players need to be very, very solid. these are the players we're getting right now. The players who played for us last season, how many of them are there now? Ramsdale, Ben White, Tomiyasu, Lokonga, Tavares, all of them are new. All of
Yeah,
them are new. And the ones who've been there for a long time, we're now heading to their last seasons.
yeah.
Aubameyang, Lacazette, all of them. So I'm not a fan of bringing back those players who've been with us over the past years, unless it's Thierry Henry or Patrick Vieira coming to help with the management. But apart from that, no.
Actually, Josh Kroenke was speaking about it on Sky in his interview, and he said that you need some kind of mentality. And look, I don't like the Cronkies, you know that, but I just thought, yeah, he makes some sense. Players like Danny Ceballos, for me, there is no mentality in him. Maybe there is talent, but there is no mentality. That's not the mentality you want around your team. It's definitely not. And of course, definitely. But look, let me ask you this: if Ceballos or no one else in January?
Oh, no one else. Bring Salah from the under 23s or Patino, or we have Akinola. We have a lot of players in the under 23s who can come in and play for us. Apart from that, Ceballos in January. Ceballos has been injured. For how long will he be helping us? So no, I'm not a fan of Ceballos. If they don't bring anyone else and bring Ceballos, yeah, we Arsenal is such in a great mood right now. If you bring someone like Ceballos in January, you're killing the mood once again. So keep on bringing good players like the Tomiyasus. I'd rather bring in a player we've never heard of, but it will work out, instead of bringing a player who we've had before, and 9 times out of 10 he wasn't great. He was only good for like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Guys, make sure you smash a like on the video. Thanks everybody for watching in. I'll be taking your comments later on. It's the Arsenal Transfer Podcast. Glenn is featuring episode number 3, and a couple of them will be dropping on a daily basis. So make sure you do check out the channel as well. And make sure you check out Glenn's channel. Link, his channel is in the title. Glenn Kitely. Make sure you click on the title. It won't take you away from the stream. Make sure you do watch his channel, because he's another great Arsenal content creator. But like, look, yeah, we've talked about players in Spain. We still have Marco Asensio. Arsenal is apparently, I don't trust the source, because this is a story that has really dragged on, and it's coming from, I think, Tudor Fijages, a source that I really don't trust a lot. But they're saying that Arsenal are preparing an offer. They say this ever since the transfer summer ended, and they're saying Arsenal are preparing an offer for Marco Asensio. True or not true, I don't know much about Asensio. Actually, let me say this. I'm not really well educated about Asensio. I've tried to do some decap. He's one player, one hell of a talent that is being projected by the media, but I've not really seen, even in the clips, I've not seen, a very, very scary talent. But probably you might understand more about Marco Asensio. Would he do the job? Would he do the job for us? Probably
not as a main striker, maybe. And I don't think he prefers like a 4-3-3 right or left side. It feels like he's been there forever, but he's only 25 years of age. There's moments about him I do remember. When Real Madrid won, I think 2015 Champions League. I think they beat Juventus 4-1 or something. He did score. He did play very well alongside Ronaldo and Bale. He was playing in the front three with them. He played very well. So this is another player who might have the winning mentality. He's been around players who've won trophies. He's won the Champions League several times. But I got a bit concerned. I don't think he was even picked for the Euros team for Spain. That's when I got a bit concerned.
Look, I mean, I did complain about that. I'm a big Spain fan. And we didn't have any Real Madrid players, by the way, in that squad, if anyone noticed. If no one noticed, thank God. But there were no Real Madrid squad, players, but he wouldn't actually make it. That is the truth. He wouldn't really make it.
I mean, why? That's the question. Why wouldn't he make it? So
25. 25. You should be playing for your national team.
He's been on the bench so many times for Real Madrid. I can't even count. I'm not even sure why. He could go to another team and become very, very well. Again, I'd probably try him out on loan, not splash 50 million for him. For a player who's been on the bench for 3 years straight, I wouldn't do that. If it's like a loan deal, come help us between January and the end of the season, I'd be happy with that. But I usually don't listen to people who usually say, if Real Madrid give you a player, that's not a good player. If Liverpool gives you a player, that's not a good player. Sometimes it could be a good player. Unless you're taking them from Chelsea, that's not a good player. They've never been good players for us. So I'd be happy to try something different. I don't think we've signed players like Asensio a lot over the years. Those skillful kind of strikers, I don't think we've signed many of them. So I'd be happy to try a loan deal, but not splashing the cash for him. He's been very, very quiet the last 3 years. Yes, he's been around Ronaldo, around Bale, around Zidane, those kind of winners. But apart from that, I'm not sure. Some people do like Asensio, but just like you, I've not been following that much.
Yeah,
but I know every time I follow Real Madrid and Spain, is never playing. So I usually ask myself why. Isco is another one, just like Asensio.
Actually, I was going to make the analogy, and I was going to say that maybe he's like Isco, because for me, everyone knows on this channel, around 33,000 people know how big a fan of Isco I am, and look, at times it's even ridiculous because I can no longer defend it. Because it's now long ago that he's been that top quality player. Look, do you think players like Asensio, players like Alexis Sanchez, Isco, do you think they have been starved of game time, and that's the reason as to why we do not actually acknowledge their true beauty? Because when Alexis Sanchez was given the love he demanded, when he was given the attention, because there's some players that do need attention, when he was given the attention he wanted at Arsenal, he actually shone. He became a star, and Arsenal was really, really, really grateful. So do you think maybe Asensio could be in the pockets? He needs to be put out in the sun, and probably Arsenal could give him that opportunity, or just think we need to stay away from him, just like you think about Jovic?
That's why I've said loan deal, not signing him. If you can bring him for a loan and then it works out for you, fine. I know I've just said I'm not a fan of people saying, if this player didn't play here, if he's selling for you, these players, they're not good. But I do look at situations like, if you've not played under 4 or 5 managers, they've all left you on the bench, they've all sent you to the under 23s, I have to be a bit worried. What is wrong? Is it the injuries? Is it that it's not good enough? Because surely Real Madrid has not been the same Real Madrid for 2 years. And Asensio is still not playing. He did not play under Zidane, Ancelotti. Also in Spain, he's not playing under like 2 managers. So you have to ask yourself what is wrong. So as a loan deal, I'm fine with that. But buying them straightforward, not a fan of that. If it's a loan deal, fine.
Yeah, we've also got some disappointments from Spain, the likes of Denis Suarez. I mean, we've got some disappointments from Spain, so we need to go.
Mustafi from Valencia.
Mustafi from Valencia and a couple of others. But the last one from Spain is William Carvalho. We did try to track William Carvalho from Portugal. He was playing with Lisbon by then, and we were still under the it's not really caretakership, but we were still under the boss, Arsene Wenger. And he was a big fan of William Carvalho. He's now really playing well at Real Betis. And Arsenal have been linked here and there. I did look at him, in that game, Real Betis playing Atletico Madrid, I think last weekend, but won. And he had a very, very good game. He's a very, very good player, but still is another player that I just feel, his time has passed. I mean, he's another messenger, he's another Messiah, whose time to tell the word of God has actually passed. But William Carvalho, you think he's a quick solution? It could be a quick fix?
No, 30 years of age, Cossy. 30 years of age.
That's it.
William Carvalho, it reminds me of when we wanted Drogba, when you wanted Ibrahimovic. 10 years ago, fine. Right now, I'd be happy to keep Partey for 20 games per season than getting Carvalho. I'm not a fan of signing those players, because if you sign him for 25 million, if it doesn't work out, what do you do next? You're stuck with another player heading out to retire, just like Willian and Luis. You're stuck with another player. So my age gap is around the young players, maybe until up to 28. That is fine. But when you're heading to 30, you've played for too long. No, I'm not a fan. When he was at Sporting, yes, I was looking at him. But as of now, Definitely not. Not a fan of signing these players who are about to retire. It has not worked out with Willian. It has not worked out with Luis. Because the moment you sign them and then it doesn't work out for 2 years, you cannot sell them. If it doesn't work out with Tavares right now, we can still try and sell him next season when he's young. Some teams will still want him. If it doesn't work out with Lokonga, we can still sell him for the same amount of money and stuff like that. But if it doesn't work out for William Carvalho, where do you move from there? So the direction Arsenal is heading in terms of bringing young players, I don't think he'd fit into that team. Also, he plays in the same team with Bellerin. So I don't know if Bellerin has told him good things about Arsenal or bad things.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So among the options then left is in that position to help out with Thomas Partey would be Bissouma, but I've not seen the links linking us with Bissouma at least for 30 days. That shows you that they're dying out. But would you try? Should we try Bissouma in December, in August? Because for me, in January, it doesn't make any sense. He's going out for AFCON as well, and we're looking for a quick fix. So it doesn't make any sense. So probably in August, do you think we should?
Oh yeah, August I'd try it again. He started the season very, very well. Of course, he had his drama. I never remember. I don't know how it ended, but I saw him playing the last 2 games. So hopefully it has been solved. But apart from that, he's always been a very good player. But again, we've said it throughout the summer transfer window. Arsenal did not want Bissouma. Arsenal fans wanted Bissouma. Arsenal never wanted Bissouma. We are the ones who wanted Bissouma, not Arsenal. Would he help us? Definitely. I do think he had a bit more Premier League experience as a team. The way he's very good at intercepting. What we saw Niles doing yesterday in terms of interceptions, Bissouma can do that for you 15 to 20 times per game. He's used to Premier League football as well, as I've said. Yes, he's going to the African Cup in January, but at the end of the season, if he can come like in August and create a solid partnership with Thomas Partey, then teams right now are scoring 1 goal. We are conceding 1 goal in 4 games. We might not concede any goals next season if you have Bissouma and Thomas Partey in front of the defenders. So January, obviously not. At the end of the summer transfer, at the end of the season, maybe. Hopefully they do sort out his issues though, because they don't want too much drama at Arsenal.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just going to be you picking, and we shall leave it at that, and go probably we'll go to the comment section and interact with the lads. Oxlade, Zakaria. This is funny. Or Oxlade, or either Oxlade or Zakaria. And make sure you're voting you're also telling me in the comment section. Either Oxlade or Zakaria, or Dani Ceballos, or Marco Asensio. One of them. Who would you go for January?
In January, Zakaria. I'd go for Zakaria. I think that is very easy. That's a very easy question. That's basically you've asked me tea with sugar, coffee with sugar, or coffee without and tea without. I'm going to go with coffee with sugar. That's Zakaria. 100%. Very, very easy.
Okay, Zakaria. I would go for Zakaria. I would definitely go for Zakaria, unless Arsenal think about someone who is Premier League proven. That is where I would give the exception, but I think Zakaria would do the deal. Okay, January. This is a little bit unrealistic, but we should think about it. So January, Dusan Vlahovic as a striker. Then Ivan Toney. I think that one's really, really, really impossible. The same with Oli Watkins. In January, and then Andrea Bellotti as well is another player whose contract is really, really uncertain. So Bellotti, Vlahovic, Toney, or Watkins.
I do think Ivan Toney is a fraud. What has he done since he came to the Premier League? I don't think he's done anything.
He's got 2 goals. He's got 2 goals already, and he has set up. And he has set up Brian Mbeumo 2 times.
But he scored goals in the Premier League.
I don't know.
No, he scored in the Carabao Cup. He scored in the Carabao Cup.
He scored a penalty. At least for the penalty. No, he scored 2 goals already in the Premier League, by the way. Yeah, 2 goals.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anyone in the chat, I can see 70 people. I don't know how many of them play Fantasy Premier League. And anyone who has Ivan Toney in their teams can tell you that he's an absolute fraud. He's literally done nothing.
I deleted him for Antonio.
I mean, yeah, you did a good thing because I don't think he's lived up to expectations, and I think signing Tony, it could work out, but it could go badly wrong because maybe he's just a player who can play in the Championship and League One. Maybe he's not Premier League quality yet. So for me, Evan Tony, I've never even considered him. I think since he even talked badly about Arsenal, I just cancelled him from the Arsenal culture. So I'd take Vlahovic. I'd take
Yeah.
Vlahovic, the young player. Again, if it doesn't work out, you have chances to sell him.
Yeah, he scored 2 goals actually. He scored 2 goals this season. He scored goals this season, and actually has a very, very, very high XG. He has his XG is at 2.8. So probably they see. But look, I mean, if Anthony did come out and criticized us, and the way we played, which I think was a little bit unprofessional and bogus. But the truth is, if you think about it, the more you think about it, is I don't know whether he can play at a top club with big ambitions, but I think he will leave Brentford for a club like West Ham. That's what I think.
Not Chelsea or this
Yeah,
kind
not
of
Chelsea.
team.
Definitely.
I don't
Yeah,
think so.
could be
Especially
another
for how
team.
much money? How much money, by the way, are we talking about Tony?
Tony, look, is he English? Yeah, he is. So you could be thinking about in excess of 45 million.
No, thank you. No, absolutely, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I do like Watkins, as Calvin said in the chat. I do like Watkins, but then Aston Villa have been all over the place this season. It even feels like he's absolutely useless. But I know he's a good striker. I know Cossy really likes him. I know he prefers him between him and Calvert-Lewin. But
Yes.
Vlahovic, just like Anu said, just like Marty said, Vlahovic.
And let me tell you something. I think look, Aston Villa sacking the manager, I still feel like they've done a wrong decision. They've gone for something wrong. I felt like Dean Smith had built something with this team around and the players. And last season they were really playing beautiful. I think that they are. It's like it's like a post-traumatic disorder. Losing Grealish. I mean, they have not cured, they have not healed. If you look at them, they're not really the team they were with Grealish around. And for me, my problem is that he's tried so much as a manager, and that's I think this is the reason that's why he was sacked. He tried so much to replace Grealish and forgot about the rest of the team. Bringing in Danny Ings to play with Watkins. Playing a front two, then Bailey, then Buendia. He's just jumbled. He just jumbled, the team, and he got, But I think Watkins, if Ings is put out of the picture, he can do really a very good job. But guys,
he should have been given more time. Yes. Also, he lost his assistant manager Terry. Also left, so he had a lot to deal with. But we don't care about Aston Villa. We care about Arsenal.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, guys, let's see some of the comments that we could talk about, and probably big up and shout out to the likes of Sewiti, Eric, David, Kenneth. Kenneth said, Cossy, there are some players I don't want at AFC again because they left us when we still needed them, like Sanchez. Have you seen that thing of Sanchez being linked back to Arsenal, bro?
Oh, Sanchez. I saw him scoring the other day in the Champions League against Sheriff. Very good goal.
It was a very good goal, by the way.
I still can't believe Sanchez went to Manchester United, and he scored and celebrated against us at the Emirates Stadium. Shame on him. But the thing I always say is, if I was to mention my top 10 Arsenal players in the Premier League history, Sanchez, I'd put Sanchez in my top 10. I did hear people saying, Sanchez in your top 10? Where's Henry? Where's Pires? I'd actually have Sanchez. There's 2-3 seasons where he was very good for us. Very good.
I think in the past 2 decades, if you're going to choose 10 players, yeah, it could be a tight call, but
Emirates era. If you say Emirates era,
maybe, Emirates era in the last decade, 10 years. Alexis Sanchez is part of that. I mean, where you put him off is when you start naming the likes of Robert Pires, the likes of that era. But in the recent times, you definitely have to put him, to put him on the call. Ateta should consider getting a replacement for Aubameyang and Lacazette. Is that it? Is that it?
Yeah.
And yeah, and Laka.
Yeah, it's time.
Look,
It's time.
yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time. The world is moving fast, so give chances to others. Forget the past. I would definitely get that lad since Auba is leaving for AFCON. All right. Most of you are saying you're going for Vlahovic and Zakaria. That's why I'm
Can I
saying.
just ask that question as you read the
Yeah.
comments? Who is your favorite player? Comment down below. Who's your favorite player in the Emirates era? So basically, since 2006, who's your favorite player at Arsenal since 2006 till now? Go ahead with the comments.
Okay. I think I would. I think I would go for Olivier Giroud.
Wow, big call.
Kingsley, you've said, I don't think he's the kind of striker we need. We need established striker for such an amount of money. By the way, I think he has a point. The money, because Erling Haaland, anyone who's going to buy Erling Haaland in the summer will have to splash around 78 million pounds on his release clause. If Arsenal get Dusan Vlahovic for 75 million, do you think we could maybe try out Erling Haaland and see, probably just check the mango tree?
No chance, no chance. And also Haaland has been injured for almost the entire season. He's also been injured all over the place. But if we can get Haaland, that would be a dream signing. That would be a signing no one at Arsenal would ever expect. So I'd try. Just try to put on the fire and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. So, guys, you've been a very, very big, great audience. Thanks, everybody, for watching in. We've streamed for 1 hour, and I would love to keep it 1 hour so that we can keep it interesting. That is Arsenal Transfer Podcast. Arsenal, if you've just joined in, Arsenal are being linked with Dusan Vlahovic, with news coming in from Italy indicating that Arsenal could have agreed a deal, an initial agreement or an initial fee of around 75 million pounds. That's according to DiMarzio, but there is nothing agreed between us and the player, and the deal is actually not very, very close. So we are still waiting to see if it can actually go through. Lastly, Glenn, please do tell us where we find you, where they can find you, and obviously, I think we should do a show tomorrow there.
Everything Arsenal, Glenn Kitely, everything Arsenal. That's where to get me. If you just search for everything Arsenal, you can find me.
Yeah,
thank you for having me again.
Yeah, of course, his channel is in the in the title. Link is in the title. Make sure you do check him out. Great, great Arsenal content creator, bro. But look, I think as we log off, one thing we're going to be worried about is a backup goalkeeper. Leno is going to leave in January. I think he might leave in the summer though. But look, do we just bring in someone? Because what would you do in that instance? What would you do?
Okonkwo till the end of the season.
No.
I mean, if it's between January and the end of the season, would you bring in another lone goalkeeper? I'd try and keep Leno till the end of the season. I know you'd want to go because of the World Cup, but try and convince him until the end of the season because he still has a few games to play. FA Cup, Carabao Cup, he still has a few games to play. So that would be such a difficult situation to try and sort out again with goalkeepers. We are trying to focus on other positions. So I'd try and convince Leno because I don't have any other goalkeeper in mind for January until the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely. We shall speak again tomorrow, bro. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, man.
And everybody who's been watching Cossy's Arsenal podcast, thanks everybody for watching. I'm really, really grateful. I'm grateful to the people who put in their comments. I'm really grateful to the people who did subscribe during this live stream. If you hit the like button, you mean the world to me. Why don't I speak to you soon?